Yes, so maybe we didn't get this notification. I think I said it a little bit in the finance meeting last time. But the current printer that we have and scanner is no longer going to be supported by Gordon and Flesch, which is the company that we use, by July 1st. So they don't give you a lot of time. So they're not going to be ordering any more parts, no more cartridges. They won't come out here if it's broken to support that any longer. So I did take the liberty to reach out to them to see what other options we could use. And just remember, most of us have printers. Like, I have one from the state that gives me one every year. He has one that's been purchased long time ago. Misty has one that she prints bills on, a separate one. So this one here is used for like scanning, or, you know, say there's village flyers that need to be made or copies and things like that. I know I don't use it because I have one in my office. So we really just need a basic printer, and that's the only thing I really asked, is for a basic printer. So according to their proposal, I was doing the math on it. We don't need like a lot of copies because currently Gordon, because that one is paid off, Gordon charges us like by cartridges and shipping and handling and stuff like that. And we rarely get those often because, again, we all have our own printers. So they gave us a recommendation for a Lexmark XL 4342 model. And I was doing the math, which I think is what everybody's going to be interested in seeing. So it is a lease of a 60-month lease at $210.42 a month. Okay? So, and obviously we can, if you want me to go even downsize it even further, I mean, because we do need a scanner. Mine has the capability of doing a scanner, but in case he needs a scanner or Misty needs a scanner, we probably should have one, you know, in the building. So for that being said, it is a 60-month, 210. It would be a check that we send out, that I would send out every month. So that was a total of $12,625.20. Okay?
And after 60 months, they take it back, or
We own it, and then we would do the same.
Own it? It's like,
Yeah, so then what would happen is we would own it, and then they would just come and maintenance for us. And then we would just pay whatever that is. Yeah, so, yeah, it's like leasing a car. Yeah. Some of the things that I took out of the request was like, if you need staples or hole punches, I didn't think that was very necessary at all. So of course they're gonna sell you the biggest and fanciest one. So I think ours is just a basic model. So that's the basic at this point. Because it's July 1, that's gonna be, you know, we won't have another meeting until after July. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that, but, and here's the thing. So don't be panicky if, say for instance, we wanna shop around, you know, which I always like that option of shopping around. It's not like they don't have the parts to bring it July the 3rd. Okay, let's just say something happens to it July the 3rd. They still have parts, obviously, on shelf. It's just that it's not going to be supported. So say, for instance, if a spindle or a wheel goes out, it's not like, oh my gosh, you know, nope, can't fix it ever again. We do have other options, so don't feel like it's pressured of, you know, come July 3rd and there's not, you know, one sitting on the shelf.
Christmas in July,
Something like that. But we do have other options. So I'm just saying, like, I have a scanner in my office. Mine's from the state. It can scan. So it's not like we're going to be completely down with anything. If we want to take some time to look around, it's just this is the company the village has had since I've been here. We've not had a problem with them. But, you know, maybe it's a basic, you know, like my printer. It's an HP, and it's like only this big. So, I mean, do we want to have a big constructive printer like we currently have? I don't think it's necessary for a stapler or punch holes or anything like that. It does sort of look like the same one we have. And, you know, I always like to pinch a penny where we can. I mean, $210 a month for, you know, something like that. Or do we want to go, and this is the newest device, so just be aware, this is the newest device that's replacing your current machine. It matches all of your current features. So the quote is a lease to own. At the end of the term, you will keep the device. and have the option to extend the service portion, which is what we currently have right now. We own that, we've owned it before I even got here, so. Something to talk about, something if you want me to go back to the drawing board, but just don't be alarmed that it's not like they, don't have current parts, they still have things. I mean, they're trying to weed it out, but they just don't wanna, they don't want people that have this kind of equipment to think that it's reliable, until December. They may not have any parts by December or something.
I'm always of the opinion that you look around a little bit before we make a decision.
Okay.
I coming from a purchasing world, that sounds like a very good deal on a very nice machine, but is there something out there better for the same? Don't know unless we look.
Yeah, and I just wanted to get something, because they only give you a month. We got the letter, I think, at the end of last month.
I would defer back to you, what are you
Okay.
comfortable with?
And speaking with Misty, she has a separate printer, so it's not like we're gonna be out of anything. It's just that when I'm not here, say they need to scan something, we need to have those options up there for any council member, anybody on a committee or whatever that needs something scanned. It's, gonna be complicated not to have that available in the water department. So, yeah, I mean, whatever you guys wanna do, if it's, maybe we downsize, because now I have my printer, I don't use it. Misty has a printer that she prints water bills from because she doesn't use that one. So, and he has one in his office, so.
I have the same laptop since 2009, I can't complain on it.
So,
It's kind
I
of
mean, it's just
nice.
something that we can think about, but don't be panicky if July 1 comes around and we're like, oh my gosh, we don't have one. We do have other means.
So, do you think that we should look around, or do you think we should settle for this?
Me personally, I think you could get a smaller one.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I think me personally, I think you could
Does
get, you
Best
could.
Buy carry 'em?
We would have to look around. This is more of an office duty
Right.
piece of equipment, but the main uses,
Yeah.
the main uses that I've seen for it are kind of low volume printing and scanning. That's it.
Yeah.
We don't do, what it was originally intended for anymore. It was intended to be a network single office printer for everybody, and we don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
So we're not printing the volume we used to, we're not, anything newer will obviously be built in 2026 and will be much nicer than what we have right now. So I'm pretty sure we could get away with a smaller, less expensive unit and put it on a table and call it a day.
Agrees with that? Does she have an opinion?
She doesn't really use it. I mean, we can
Yeah.
ask her, but she doesn't really, my observation is she rarely uses it.
Yeah, I had asked her what benefit she wants out of it. She's a stapling queen, so she likes to have her own stapler. Hole punching, obviously we have means of that. But she, like I said, she's got 2 printers in there, so it's not a problem for her. I think we can, in my opinion, we can.
I think
go
it's too
smaller.
big.
Yeah.
I think it's too big. We're going digital to a lot of things anyway, so I mean, it just seems larger than what our function
So
really is.
I can go back to them and ask them, for a smaller version, sort of like mine from the state. I mean, it's only this big from floor to, or from desk to top.
If that's gonna work, and you have, you're in agreement with that,
Yeah.
I would make the recommendation to go back to them for a smaller, printer. Any discussion on that in the committee?
I think I agree, I do this most of
Okay. And I'll bring it back, so even though this one expires in July, I'll bring it back to the committee and just say, hey, this is the one, and then we can make a recommendation at that point.
Thank you.
Yeah. But you guys do, just as far as money-wise, I've always put in for office supplies, this would fall under office supplies. But you guys may have to take it to council to, if we get into like a lease agreement. So there's a couple different options that I would probably suggest. Is it cheaper to just buy it out and then just have them come in and fix it when needed? Or is it cheaper to have a 6-month lease? And, what's the benefit, what's the benefit of either or, what is the cheapest, so.
One good thing about the lease, once you paid it off, you would own it.
Yes, but you gotta think about it here, it's kinda like a car.
Yeah.
You get charged more when you lease a car than when actually you have
Yeah,
cash in hand.
that's
So,
true.
cause you're paying for extra additional
You're-
miles and,
You're financing it effectively, so I
Yeah.
mean,
So I think we probably can toy around with some of those options is, if you could just buy it out, you can have it already.
Yeah, perhaps it would be useful to do a quick refresh as to what a capital improvement plan is and what its purpose is, separate and apart from the budget itself. So a capital improvement plan is a longer-term sort of overall prioritization of typically fixed improvements or capital improvements which need to be made to the village. So it could be a roof on a building, a street, some kind of sidewalk, a promenade, a new gazebo, something that has to be effectively saved up for and is paid for. Could be a variety of different ways, not necessarily always with village dollars, but is placed in a sort of a general priority list. Other things that would potentially go in there would be larger equipment purchases, like a dump truck or a new Kubota or something along those lines that we would need to make that would require typically a large cash position to achieve. So what it effectively means is we segregate into categories and prioritize into categories and then project over typically a 3 to 5 year term what are the most important things that sort of are on that list in each category. So a street within our equipment inventory, physical plant like this building, and then you start essentially assigning budget targets to those. And every year you align your budget to your capital improvement.
So yeah, so basically, in layman's terms, is that, say for instance in 2027, you guys want to pave a yellow brick road down London Street, okay, and say it's gonna cost $1 million. What you would say is that out of the street fund, we want to reserve $20,000 for the next 6 years. Okay, so capital improvement plans are usually a 5-year deal. And then what it would say is that, okay, on year 2026, out of the street fund, you guys would automatically not be able to use that money. It would automatically say going to capital improvement plan to pave a yellow brick road down London Street. And it would say $20,000. When 2028 comes around, it would say, okay, remember, we've got to assign $20,000 to the capital improvement, capital improvement plan to pave the yellow brick road. So then 2029 comes around, you reserve another $20,000. So the yellow brick road won't be paved until, say, year 2035 or
30,
something.
Yeah.
So then you would say, okay, here's this is what it would be. So you wouldn't be able to go back to those funds. You wouldn't be able to spend those funds. Those would automatically be taken off the top.
So the question is always, why do you have one of these things? Why do you have a capital improvement plan? You have a capital improvement plan because it makes budgeting much more predictable.
Andy, I want to bring this up too. The slate on this building is getting worn.
Yeah.
And I think if we talk about capital improvement, I think it's time we should.
All of that goes into the bucket.
We have
Right, so otherwise, what you do every year is you careen from event to event to event, and then you don't have a general approach that this year we're going to do these 3 projects and
At
this.
$60,000.
At $60,000, and this building is one of them that gets a new roof. So it makes the budget process much easier to understand. It makes it much more predictable for a longer period of time, and that way you don't have as much of a challenge knowing what your 5-year time horizon is really going to look like.
The reason
So-
why I brought that up too, though, if you go with metal now, you're good for 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So so this is separate, this would be separate from your budget, so it would be a
Right.
separate ordinance. Now, at some point, say for instance, something catastrophically happens, it's meant to be in stone at the time, but at some point, say you get different counsel, say your projection of your project turns different. Say there's a sinkhole down in, Wingate, that you have to take that money and use it. You would have to come back to council. Council would either pass it, depending upon if it's an emergency or a 3 reading. You would come back to council and say, okay, we're going to amend the capital improvement, and we're no longer going to pave the yellow brick road. We're going to go to Wingate. So, you do have the option to do that, but it would look like your budget, but it would be separate ordinances for each. Okay, so it's not like you can say one year, for an example, you can't say in year 2029 that, hey, we don't want to no longer, pave the yellow brick road anymore. You're going to have to come back to council to amend the capital improvement before you can even put it back into your budget.
Or even think of.
So it's meant to be hard to do that for a reason. Okay, so you can't bypass or misstep the capital improvement ordinance. You have to always come back to council to change it. Okay?
I
So it's not like you can one year say, oh, we're not gonna do it anymore. Well, you say you have 2 years of $40,000 of money in this budget, you have to come back to amend that and say, okay, well, we don't want that anymore. And of course, majority rule vote or whatever, and then the money goes back. So it's meant to do that for a reason. Yeah.
Joyce, I have a question, if I can. Back here. Can I ask a question? 303 East Main. So as far as the capital improvement, do you have multiple categories of capital improvement plans?
Yes.
Like this is the streets capital improvement plan. This is the
It's all within one
facilities
plan.
capital.
One plan, but it's different categories of project.
It's set up just like your budget. So you
So,
have
yeah,
one for
yeah.
water, you have one for
Buckets.
sewer, but it would all be, it'd look just like your budget. It'd have a spreadsheet just like it. But it would have years instead of line items. It would have years categorized across it. So, I mean, and again, capital improvements are very important because remember, the water facility was put into play in 2017. There are no longer warranties on that equipment, and that's expensive stuff. So it's always something to talk about when it comes to water and sewer, because what are you gonna do when there's a pump that's out?
And those are like 60?
It could range from $60,000 to $100,000.
Very expensive.
So I'm just saying is, sometimes those, you don't have enough in your emergency funds to pay for a pump like that. Because typically we use in our emergency funds if there's a water main break or a sinkhole or something like that that is caused by water. So it's always good to be thinking ahead of, and streets, I'm gonna recommend that, is that, years ago, when I was doing village administrator stuff, we had a street study that was done. And it prioritized it so that residents could actually see that, hey, it wasn't just council members of the village just picking a street because somebody lived on it, let's just say. A council member lived on it. They actually went through and did an actual study that said, what is the condition of that street? That way you could give it to the residents to say, hey, we paid for a study to happen, and unfortunately, even though you run over that pothole 50 million times, your street's not that bad compared to Chestnut, compared to, Mountain View or whatever. So, it's always good to have that third study to say, even though you run over it out of your driveway every day, it just, it's not as bad as, so-and-so lives on. So, it's just something to think about. Just a good plan.
It is, it is.
Andy referenced last evening that it's going to be a little challenging to keep, or maybe it was Courtney, to do a budget and do a capital improvement plan.
That's what not even balanced.
So we have to be very diligent and focused to make sure that we can do that,
That's what I was wondering.
that it can be done.
Okay.
Okay. The last thing I want to touch on is the insurance, the Ohio plan. I did hear back from Greg from the insurance company, and he was kind enough to give us a lot of answers to the questions that we submitted to him. We will not be going over them today, we'll be going over them Wednesday evening. There are more questions that I'm going to be submitted. I submitted him that he had questions back to me. So I'm going to be getting with him today to get clarification on those, so I'll have them. What I would encourage, if you haven't gone through this and prepared yourself for it, I would recommend you do that before tomorrow night. That's all I have on that.
So we can call this gentleman to and ask questions?
I don't know.
Mhm.
That's fine. I think he's open for discussion. Isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah.
He has
Yep.
it open for discussion. I go through email, it's easier.
His name's Greg. Yeah, so in your guys' letter, I really don't have what his direct phone number is. In that letter that it was emailed to everybody, it has his email, and his office number. But if you don't have it, I can give it to you.
Okay, the last thing, is just to sign paperwork from Daryl.
Yep. If you don't mind, I'll come down there. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is what I think Andy has been talking about. So Toe Patch Productions is a place that we get the full patch from. You guys wanna rotate?
Whatever way you want, direction you want to go.
Those on the left, and then we'll end here.
a source of repair that's needed almost every year. So it's either we run over softballs, baseballs at the park, some of them, there's holes or whatever, like a rodent has gone down. So this is a shaft that needs to be repaired.
That's why I did one of mine the other day and I had to shoot it. No, it was done.
Okay, this is a repair for a valve, on Clevenger. This is more motor, okay, and just pay attention, like this one here is for the parks. This one here is, for street, so just, even though you see two for Ag Pro, it's out of different funds. We had a doozy on the park one, so you'll see two of these. We had a universal joint and a bearing on those.
Universal joints are pretty expensive.
This was a chlorine pump that was already in the budget, for this water plant, so they were able to get that done. These are basics, water testing and phone, POs, phone meaning internet office phones. This here is something I took liberty of doing is, repairs for the public bathrooms here at Town Hall. So Mr. Scott came in to make those.
So did these ones work now?
Yep.
How about the cosmetic look of them? I mean, did he change anything there?
He did not, no.
So
This
it's
is
just
just
the-
for the functionality.
So the toilets and the sinks work in
Yes.
both the men's and
Correct.
women's? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yep. And this is RO, okay, so we have an RO train, at the water plant that needs to be cleaned like every 3 years. So this company, which we currently go through with that we buy our chemicals from, they're gonna train, the staff to go ahead and make sure that they know how to do this. So this is a one-time gig, one-time deal, is that once they know how to do the cleaning, we won't have to do that again. But that is a requirement of the water plant. It has to be.
So that's like the Madison County staff?
Yes, yep.
It's really good for once they get it.
This is for weed killer, for the streets and things like that, through Dwyer's, they were the only ones that could purchase it. This is basic electricity, it's called spruce. So it's not a, what do you call it, it's not a hard,
Yeah,
like a Roundup sort of
you
deal.
gotta watch out for Roundup for cancer, yeah.
AP. That we pay every month. Okay, and this one here is to take down a tree that is the villages, that it's on Water Street, right beside the
I
library.
know the tree you're talking
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Okay, and this is a door repair at the sewer plant. The lock was not working. Okay, and this was also in the budget for the village and the sewer plant. They installed new sleeves, reset rates, and capped off the bearings on one of the pumps. That was already in the budget. This is for chemicals, for the water plant.
Do we use like a certain guy for our tree removal?
Yeah,
That-
Scott, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
This is more stone. We've been going through the stone, as you guys have heard, in the alleys and trying to repair
I'll be
some of
glad to get
those.
that one alley done, we'll get it eventually. The ones down by Nathan's and I, that one there.
And this is cartridge for, printers. This is stamps.
Stamps keep going up
I
too.
think that again. I think so, they're
There's-
$78.
They're supposed to go
For
up
a whole-
again in August first.
Okay, and this is supplies, that Jack needed for the park. Jack comes in today, he's probably not just going like this today. Oh, okay. I haven't seen him today. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so these that you're gonna see right here, are names on these, okay? And the reason why you're gonna see just our names, and you're gonna see for every employee, you're gonna see for exempt and non-exempt. These, ADP had a system outage, and, they did not submit payroll correctly. Now, it didn't affect council because it wasn't during council pay period. So what you're gonna see is you're gonna see POs, about a payroll error, on our payroll. So the village has to obviously pay our employees. So what they did is you'll see this in these copies, but you'll see this that an actual manual check was given to all employees to correct it because they weren't gonna be paying everybody until Tuesday. So everybody gets paid on Friday, they were not gonna be able to have it corrected until then. dismiss all of the fees that they would have charged, and then I had to pay everybody through the check, okay? So that was on pay period 9, okay? It'll be this one here. So that's why you see it being paid out. These were bearings for the sewer plant, that had to be repaired, that's within their budget as well. Okay, so this right here, and there's gonna be 3 of these, or 2 of these in this packet. So remember when we talked about, and this was obviously in budget, the EPA wants us to track water loss. Remember, this is the last open, violation that the village has. And we had, Mr. Scott, put this into, play where we're actually monitoring how much water every facility uses, and that means town hall, sewer, and water. Okay, so there's 2 of them in here, and he has gotten that taken care of. Okay, so this was another issue that happened to the, John Deere tractor that we had to take that, we couldn't fix in-house. So, this is a vendor we normally use. This one, you probably heard me talk about it last meeting, is that, AgPro, which is John Deere, which is what this is, they were charging $16,000 to fix it. We got it for $2,000.
Boy, you've worked out a deal then, wow. That's good.
Well, you just gotta shop around, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because labor now is just as much as material.
I
Okay.
found that on
This was the water line that we talked about in the wastewater, or the water wastewater meeting, that needed to be fixed on the roadway, and this was on Market Street. Dwyer's, we've been shopping at Dwyer's because it has been cheaper. Sometimes we can't get things next door, so they've been going to get them here. Okay, so on this one here, Hawkins, they're our chemical company. We used to go through, and you guys would sign off on it if you remember Process Solutions. So Process Solutions was a chemical company that we used. I shopped around to get cheaper chemicals because if y'all haven't noticed, surcharging gas has gone up, so delivery freight has gone up. They started charging almost $400 to put it on a pallet and drive it out here and unload it, because it has to go drums. So they would charge us $450. So if you notice on here, so I did a little shopping around, asking our current company to do this, they only charge us $79 for delivery. But what they do, and the reason why you see this amount is excessive amount, $27,000, this is for the whole entire year. So they don't do, and that's the reason why they can get around the freight, is that if you buy bulk with them, they will give it to you cheaper.
Good shopping, Gordon.
So, yeah, they, $79, but the shelf life of chemical does stay on the shelf. So it's not like if you know, sometimes when you buy something and the dosage goes down, it's not like that.
You did a good job with that one.
Okay, and here's another one, that you guys don't often see. So this is a resident that had been here for many, many, many years. They moved. So this right here that you'll see, and you'll see it being a different fund number, this deposit is a refund. So basically, they fall under the exemption of, remember when you had to pay the $150, you know, it was a refundable deposit? She falls under that. We don't have a lot of them, and that's why I only put $2,000 in that fund, just in case, you know, say we have massive people that move out.
Can I get my retard?
Well, I don't know if you're, what time you're out or not.
Yeah.
You gotta move out of the village. So this is why you see this little funky fund, which you normally never see. I mean, it's been a while. But this has been paid out to the resident, and of course you'll see what the difference was. So you take out your last water bill, and then you get whatever money's left. So this is supplies. This was for the tree banquet, you know, check that we sent out, for the tree committee. And then this is, BWC insurance. I think it was Becky was the last one. Yeah, that, we signed that last month, but I think we missed that this year. And then this is dues and fees. These are Oprah's pages. Just sign right here in the squares. overtime that we use. So I'm using all the money until I can't anymore, but I probably will have to come back to you guys so that we can reappropriate money for the, budget. Okay, and that was because a lot of our village employees like to use comp time, some of them like to cash out some of their comp time. And remember, with the snow removal and stuff, there were a few employees that like to do pay out for that. So it's not gonna be a problem. There's money left in, there's money in there, we would just have to reappropriate some funding, and then, you know, yeah. So I mean, and it's, and that's the option. So, I'm gonna use it until I can, but just don't be concerned when I come back and say, hey, I need to reappropriate more money. Cause they do have the option to do that. Okay? And I think,
So these are each different employees?
those are different payrolls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I'm getting close to the threshold that we have budgeted for. So I will be coming back to you guys.
Maybe one day get a new chair.
Yeah, yeah. So just, be prepared for that. But the money's there, so it's not like, you know, we just have to reappropriate for one area. Right?
You
I mean,
did,
that's it.
Courtney did a good job shopping with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good job.
I told you, if I can save a penny, I will.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Good job.
Joyce, were you amending or adjourning? Adjourning at 10:34.
You know. I gotta go to the museum for a short while, so.
Dave, did you see I just saw it. There's a magic show at the library tomorrow.